Welcome to This Sacred Life and the Divine Feminine Spotlight. I'm Shann, founder of TransformationGoddess.com and the Goddess Talk Sessions. And today I am thrilled to share with you one of the most popular interviews from the Goddess Talk Sessions global event. I invite you to light a candle, kick your feet up, and prepare to be inspired. Today, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Kuileimailani Bonnici. Amber is an intuitive creativity coach and creative business mentor. She helps women access their creative power and supports creatives to get their message out into the world through her live events and year-long coaching programs. Amber is the host of the Woman Unleashed Retreats, an online event that gathers tens of thousands of women each year. Amber supports her online global community of more than 25,000 women to spread their creativity throughout the world. When she's not teaching or coaching, you'll find her on the big island of Hawaii, painting, dancing hula, or hanging with her husband and boys. Welcome, Amber.
Aloha! I'm so happy to be here in the flesh talking with you, Shann. Yay!
Yay. Well, and I am grateful that you said yes. And I enjoyed so much being a part of Woman Unleashed. And when you said yes to Goddess Talk Sessions, it was just like this beautiful, yay, I can't wait to talk to her and see what she has to say.
It's like a mutual love fest here. Laugh, in all directions.
Right. Before we came together today, I lit a candle and said a prayer, cleared the room with some beautiful smudge today featuring sage and lavender. And I pulled a goddess card for you.
Ooh.
And Una, easy does it, came up. There's no need to hurry or force things to happen. Everything is occurring in perfect timing. And I'm wondering how Una resonates with you today.
You know, it's really interesting that you mentioned everything flowing, because when I talk about creativity, I talk about there's a natural rhythm to it, a flow to it. And that, you know, when I work with creatives, we talk about the places that we get blocked up and we get stopped in creating whatever that is in our lives. And so when you talk about flow, what comes to me is I think about self-care and, you know, nurturing your energy. That helps you tap into the flow, as well as intuition, listening to that creative intuitive power. Those are the two pieces that can help tap you into flow and get you moving.
And does Una speak to you and what's going on in your world right now, this reminder to go with the flow? Or do you feel like you're pretty flowy in this moment?
Oh, yeah. You know what? I feel like I'm in forced flow, right? So astrological events around this time are like feeling like they're, I don't even know if I'm allowed to cuss on this, but like,
yes, you are. You can cuss your face off.
Great. I feel like they are kicking my ass, force pushing me through into flow, right? So it's almost like I've been on the side of the riverbank holding on, clutching a bit.
Yes.
And it's like being swept away. And so when you talk about flow, I'm like, oh yeah. Personally, it's like letting go of control. I am not in control. And there's a lot of freedom in that, just that recognizing that I'm not.
Yeah, there really is. And to keep letting go as you try to come back and hang on, and like you said, hanging on to the shore. You have a very full life. And so with what's happening astrologically, a very full life and everything that's happening, trying to keep all of your ducks in a row is sometimes something that feels like what needs to happen. But when the forces of the universe are showing you something else, you just have to say, oh, well, here we are doing the best we can with what we've got.
Yeah. You know, one thing that I've been working with, because there has been so much coming up lately, and it does feel like everything at once sometimes, right? And I know that as women that we feel this, right? Like,
sure.
You know, I'm a mom. I've got two kids. They're, you know, one's in junior high, one's in elementary school. I have my creative business. I, you know, like to run. I, you know, hang out with my husband. We live here in Hawaii. We travel. There's a lot on my plate, you know, with all my clients and stuff. And it's like this, what I've noticed now is it's almost like when I'm talking about going with the flow, what's coming to me now is it's really just doing the thing in front of me. and not
Yes.
giving it any strange energy or any extra thought than it needs to have, right? So, for example, right now I've got just a bunch of stuff, random stuff that piled up all at the same time. Like, I was in a car accident a couple years ago, and we got a call back from the health insurance people saying, we don't think that we should have paid for that. I'm like, what? That's strange, right? So, something like that. I get a call about our mortgage, like lots of things all at once, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the past, I would have just like stressed about that. I've been like, oh my gosh, what if we have to pay for this? This is $50,000 bill, just stuff like in that area, and really worried about it. And what I'm noticing what Go with the Flow with me right now is letting go of the resistance of my own thoughts and being like, Amber, just pick up the phone or just send the email, right? So
Yeah.
in a long time, my resistance has been like anything financial, doctor's appointments, things like that that aren't that big of a deal, but they pile up in my head. And so part of going with the flow has been just doing the one step in front of me, picking up the phone call, making that call, sending that email, doing the thing instead of thinking so much about it.
And creating stories around it that can cause so much anxiety,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, I mean, if I let myself go down a rabbit hole, I'm like, oh yeah, we've got like to pay $50,000, and then our kids are like on the street, and like,
Right. Oh my gosh. So let's talk today. Let's begin or continue our conversation about your journey of reclaiming your feminine voice and standing in your truth. Because, boy, from the outside looking in, you sure do a nice job of it.
oh, that's really sweet. It's taken a lot of work.
Right, as it
It
does.
hasn't been easy, the journey. Um, it's really interesting, Shann. Like when I'm thinking where to start, right? But I started off like I loved it. I'm a school person. I like got A's. I like was motivated. I knew what I wanted to do. Graduated, ended up in management, and I was like on the fast track for success. And I was making things happen. When I think about my voice at that time, I used my voice, but it was only really the voice that was acceptable in the circumstances, right? That, as a
Yes.
manager, it was acceptable for me to use my voice in certain ways. Yeah. And so when I decided to have my kids, I had my first baby, and at the hospital, when I held him to my chest, I knew that I was not going to go back to my full-time 60, 70-hour work week job. And I decided to stay home as a mom. And I loved it. And I totally lost myself in it. Like at one point I had two kids under the age of 2. And I remember, laying in bed and not wanting to get out of bed and just feeling so low. And at the time, I had an email run across my inbox, and it talked about a painting and writing mentorship program. And it felt like someone had reached out their hand to me to help me out of this space. And I thought, if I could just do something for myself. And I went ahead and signed up for that course. And the way I rationalized it, because this was where I was at, is I couldn't even rationalize spending money on myself at the time, was that it was around Christmas time. And I could use my Christmas money to pay for this course. And so I started the course. And what happened was I started painting and writing, and I started finding my voice through artistic expression. Right? I started writing and seeing what was going to come, my words, my way. I started painting. I hadn't painted since I was like in second grade. Honestly, I've always thought, when I was younger, I thought I was a terrible artist. And so I started painting again. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. Like, and it was for me, and it was like just for me, for no one else. And at some point I felt called, like, you know what? This is so amazing for me. I know I have to share this with other people. Like, I know that there are women like me who've been waiting for this. And so that was the beginning of me using my voice, that step there, as far as putting myself out there, starting to open up women's circles,
Sure.
doing small workshops, and to say, hey, come to my house. I think I know what I'm talking about. Right? That piece. But I remember that was the beginning of me using not just an acceptable voice, but a voice that felt really true for me. that point. And over the years, I've had to, it's like, keep stepping it up. It's like the next level.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you find that too, Shann.
Sure.
That once I really started, I remember one of the hardest things with my voice was with my husband, right? That we've been in a very comfortable relationship ever since I had stopped working full time, where I was at home with the kids and he was the one at work. And I started doing my art and I started wanting to share it more and like putting my work out there and, wanting to not just be home. And I remember doing the dishes one day and I was feeling so resentful. This is bullshit. Why am I the one doing fucking dishes?
Right, right.
There was a really rough year for the two of us where when I was really finding my voice, like I went through this anger piece where I was just mad and pissed off at like how I had, and I was directing it towards him, but really it was at myself because I was okay with the way things were and I wasn't speaking up and I was just holding it in like a giant volcano until it exploded. Now we're at a place where we're in true partnership, but there was a good year that it was really, there was a lot of arguing, a lot of me just like spitting out what was right on my mind because I started using my voice.
Sure.
And it just kind of came out a little bit violently at first.
Well, yeah, it does, especially if you've been stuffing it down for a bit. It absolutely does.
Yeah. So we're in good partnership now, but that was the hardest time, I think, with that. Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad that you were able to say yes to painting, say yes to that course and what that did for you and how that opened things up and that you did find your voice. And even though it was a little bit wonky and unruly, an unruly teenager for a while, that you and your husband were able to work through it and figure out what would bring you both joy and what would fill up your family in a way that you wouldn't be feeling like, are you kidding me? I'm doing the fucking dishes again. How are we going to be in true partnership so that we're both involved in what it takes to do what we need to do?
Yeah, it's been a journey, but yeah, it's been great though too. I feel like, and part of it is like as a mom now, like I think about the example I'm showing my kids,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
I think about before they saw a woman who was at home working, but underneath my energy was resentful,
Sure,
right? And
sure.
people can feel that. People
Yep,
can feel it.
they
And
can.
so now they see me as I'm running my business. I work and it's like a totally different thing, right? They see me really in my joy, my passion. And so I'm really happy because I know that it's a good example for them and for if they decide to partner with a woman in the future that they really have that partnership that they can have moving forward.
It's incredibly key for that modeling that they're seeing that you're providing and to see you take care of yourself, to see you run, to see the joy it brings for you to create your life on your terms. All of that. I sometimes my daughter and I are talking and she's like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this conventional thing when I get out of school because you have so much freedom. She's, Mama, you have so much freedom. I said, well, I didn't always, but it was a choice that I made, and it wasn't an easy transition for us either because of the lifestyle and everything, the way we were living for so long before I said, up, that's it, I'm out of here. So I understand, and really one of the best things we can do for our kids is model our joy and model as much health and wellness and wealth and abundance as we possibly can. And I'm talking about the internal stuff more than the external.
Oh yeah, my kids are total entrepreneurs. They have no patience for like a I like when you talk about a regular job, like, nah, but it's cool because we set up entrepreneurial things for them to do, right? So
Yes.
like they want to earn money. I'm like, all right, so here are things that we can garage sale. If you two tag everything, put everything out, run the garage sale, then I'll give you guys 50%, right?
Yes.
So it's teaching them about that, teaching about if they want to borrow money, interest,
Yes, it's so smart. Well, we did that with our daughter as well. Marin is an artist, and she had her first booth at we have the Sutton's Bay annual art fair, which is a pretty big deal around here, and beautiful things, beautiful artists, and they have a kids tent. And so we went through the whole process, the overhead, all of it, so that she could see that, yeah, you have an opportunity to sell your art, but you also have to take care of the printing costs, and you have to take care of the, whatever fees there were and all of those things. And then to see her light up as people are buying her art and knowing that that was her little business to get started in that way. It's fun. It's fun to teach. Anyway, here we go down that path. That's another conversation we could talk about for hours, I'm sure. Is that let's come back to you and your opinion or your observation of when you hear the words "speak your truth." What bubbles up for you? What comes up?
There's something about being uncensored.
Yeah.
That comes up for me, and that's part of when I created Women Unleashed. That was part of the vision, right? It was about women unleashing themselves from shoulds or any of those things that keep us small, right? And instead to just speak whatever we want to speak. So I find the longer I've been coaching, the longer I've been working with women, is the more just truthful I can be to people, the more of a difference I can make. So when I'm talking to someone and she's telling me that she wants to do a workshop and or a retreat. Let's say she wants to do a retreat halfway around the world in Bali. And she tells me her vision. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love it. I'm so excited. And then I said, well, sure. Well, how many people do you have on your mailing list, or how many contacts do you have? And she says oh, my friends and family. All right. Well, that's not going to happen unless if you do this, this, and this, right? So before I would have been oh, okay, well, you might consider, I would have softened it.
Sure.
I find the more that I just speak truth to people, the more that they're able to really hear it, at a deeper level. I feel like we have receptors for truth. We can, when someone says something to us that they're really just speaking the bold truth, there's something within us that can really feel that at a deeper level. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I think truth telling starts with telling truth to ourselves, about ourselves. Once you can really be truthful about what's really going on to yourself, then it's about going out. Then it's about talking to others and saying your truth because you know it, right?
Sure.
Or
sure.
From that place. Yeah.
And that really leads beautifully into my next question. Based on your experience, your life experience up until this point, how would you recommend that our listeners discover, embody, and then amplify their voices?
So my path to my voice has been creative expression, right? And I actually believe that we are all born to create. There's something within us that's uniquely ours. And if you can find that, that's a perfect path towards your voice, right? So whether that is singing, whether that's writing, dancing, creating art, I don't care, but something creative. It's not like a paint by numbers, follow someone else's plan. It's about you and your own process of creativity. That is going to help you start to find your voice, that piece. So here's an example of something fun you can do. Grab a piece of paper and grab some paint or crayons or whatever, and just whatever you feel called towards. What colors call to you? Okay, scribble them out. What wants to come next? Just just let yourself play in there. And then from that, you're going to see, okay, what do I like and what do I not like, right? So it's finding that the truth of those little pieces where you find what you like and what you don't like. And that's the beginning of your truth. If you don't even know where to start, you're I don't even know where to start. It's okay, what really feels good to me or not? It reminds me of that movie with Julia Roberts, The Runaway Bride. I don't know.
I've seen it.
I've seen this one, yeah. So there's this point where she, every guy that she's about to marry, she ends up morphing herself into him, right? And whatever eggs he likes, that's her favorite way to eat eggs too, right? Mm-hmm. And then it gets to this point where she's finding herself again, that she has to discover, well, what eggs do I like? So she tries them all out. She's actually, these are my eggs. I like this type of eggs, right? So that's what creative expression does. Is it helps you find your eggs, right? It helps you find your thing. So that's the piece about kind of discovering your creativity. So embodiment. So and here's again creative expression. Here's what I like to do is when I'm talking embodiment, I'm actually talking like in your body, being in your body. For me, what I like to do, or what I started doing, was I actually started dressing like the way that felt best for me. Like we talked about your eggs as far as like your expression. So thinking about that for the way you dress. What maybe you want to add a necklace, you want to add a flower to your hair, you want to add some sort of jewelry, maybe put on your makeup a little bit different, but start to play, allow yourself some play and move into that spaciousness. I teach Nia, which is a movement form, right? And when I first started teaching Nia, I showed up like in my exercise outfit, right? I had like my yoga pants and I had a halter top, right? And then as the time went on, I started wearing flamboyant skirts and I started wearing lots of crazy jewelry and, flowers and just, shawls around my hips, things that made me feel more me and more sexy and more like that I wanted to move my body more. And so how can you adorn yourself in a way that shows to the world what your inside is like? So that's the second piece.
I've been finding that over time as well, that different shawls and necklaces and bracelets and even anklet with bells or, whatever, where you just feel like, this is so awesome that I can just wear this because it makes me feel good and I really don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks. This is who I am and this is how I want to be today and how I want to move today and how I want to look. It's so liberating, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
And I love opening up my closet and be like, who do I feel like being today?
Yes.
What do I want to, what side of myself do I want to express this day?
Yeah. And that's the thing, because at least for my story, I can speak for myself only. There are times when I might put something like that on and then talk myself out of it and wear something more conservative. Wear something more socially acceptable, which is where my truck driver mouth came out earlier. Is as soon as I realized, it's not about them. It really is about me in this moment and how I want to adorn my body.
Yeah, and that's why I say start small, right? Because
right.
I mean, for me, it was like from where I am now, like when I first started, there's no way I would wear what I'm wearing right now. Like I would have been like terrified of what people would have thought and really self-conscious. And I wouldn't have wanted people to look at me. That's another thing.
Exactly.
It's like I was really, and frankly, it came from a place of safety, not feeling safe.
Yes.
And so, once I started really kind of exploring and starting to really step into my voice, I noticed that I also stepped into my power, because it's that place of being okay being seen. And it's fine for people to hear my voice and to disagree with me and not like me. And, in the journey of finding my voice, that was hard, is having people not like me and send me emails that they hate me and all sorts of mean things. But it's part of it's part of when you talk about that, as far as that next step, as far as growing or sharing.
Yeah.
It's like that's it's part of the journey, and I want women to know that it's there, that there is judgment, right? When we start to open to our voice and our truth. However, that like the other side of it is so much more delicious, is so much more freeing when you get there, right?
Yeah, it really is. And you don't have to feed the trolls. You don't have to be in a space where you even answer them when they're being shitty or judgmental or sending awful emails or all of the different things that happen when you start to amplify and sometimes polarize. I have a client who has he's brand new to podcasting, and he had a couple of people get very upset with him because of a topic that he discussed. Well, what do I do? And I said, well, you have two choices. You can invite them to unsubscribe. You can not say anything, but more than anything, just let it go, because you aren't doing this. You aren't sharing your voice to make everybody happy. You're sharing your truth. This is what you believe. This is your platform, and they're welcome to leave if they don't like it. right?
Mhm.
They're welcome to move on and move on to somebody else that resonates more deeply with you.
Yeah, totally. And what I find is that, if you are actually polarizing, then you're making a difference, right? If
Yes.
you're just talking like vanilla, like you're not making a difference. Everyone hears that all the time, right? So there's something about when you really speak your deepest truth that you can really make a difference for other people.
I agree, and I'm glad that you bring up the polarization piece. The vanilla speaking, that's safe. That's all of us regurgitating what we know is safe. The conventional wisdom that's safe, and for each of us, we're in a different place on this path. I understand, but little by little, the more that you become who you really are, embody who you really are speaking from your soul, there's really nothing that can stop you from that amplification place. Eventually, you're going to get there, and you're going to be speaking from that place of your truth, and it doesn't matter how anybody comes at you or what anyone else thinks. That's when you are on that side of deliciousness and that, it's so much more comfortable being me today than it ever has been before.
Mm.
Right?
Well, I think there's also something about, that space of just speaking truth and knowing that there's just like when we were talking about the clothing and like maybe it's just starting with a necklace. It can be the same thing with you speaking your truth and coming out, right? So
Yeah.
for me, I had an art coming out, an artist coming out party because no one knew I was painting.
Yeah.
So like for me, I was super scared to tell anyone in the first place. So like the first year, I really had my paintings in a closed room with a sheet over my easel. I didn't even want my husband to see what I was creating, right? Because
Yeah.
it didn't feel safe for me, right? And then I started allowing him to see it. And then I allowed my family to come and see. And then I said, okay, I'm going to have a coming in ceremony just with my closest friends.
Sure.
Right? I had 20 women come and I just shared my paintings, right? And then after that, I felt, okay, I think I'm going to start a blog. And so I did a blog post and I sent it to my other friends, and I was terrified to do that step. So there's this thing about when you talk about amplification that it's like it's this growing or like the
Yeah.
pebble, that there's this way for you to test the waters, to like be like, okay, I'm seeking my truth here. Okay, now I'm going to speak my truth to the next level, right? Now I'm going here, right? So you don't have to just throw yourself out
Right.
there.
Jump in the deep end. Yeah,
I
I
bet you could
love
do
that.
that too.
You said, be the youest you can be. Paint, pray, dance, sing, create, speak up. Let others experience your creations. And that to me sounds like just what you were just talking about.
That sounds like me. Cut that
That
out,
sounds
Steve.
just like you.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like, when we're talking about voice, part of it is it's your expression. So, how do you express yourself? What do you create in the world? And in order for you to create, you have to know your own truth. And it starts within. So, my invitation is to everyone here is to be like, what is that calling? We all have one. We all have a nudge. We all have this nudge to put something, to be something, to show up in some way. And so to stop censoring yourself, unleash
Yes.
yourself and to go for it.
Yes. I say yes to this.
Yeah.
Tell us about the free gift that you have for all of our listeners today.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I work with women to access their creativity and to like tap into that self-expression. And I also help creatives get their work out in the world. And so I create this bundle. Okay. So it's a little bit of both depending on what you're looking for. Right. So one, it's called Take a Retreat, Lead a Retreat. And what it is that I create an at-home retreat experience for you to nurture yourself, to align and listen to your intuition in order to feel clear, to feel focused, to feel energized. We're doing some art, we're doing some movement, some meditation, and just like imagine like instead of heading off on a trip to Hawaii, though you can come visit me in Hawaii too, but you're able to, when you need just that pause moment, that you have an at-home retreat that you can do. So that's part of it. You have that. And then for those of you that are feeling the calling to put your work out there, whether it's, doing a small workshop in your home or, maybe you already have, some sort of following and you want to do events, then I have a training on leading retreats and workshops, right? And it talks about ways a step-by-step process on how to lead an event.
Oh,
So
thank
you get
you.
both of us.
Wow, that's very generous. Thank you so much. And
You're welcome.
and just a reminder to everyone listening in that you can get Amber's free gift right on her speaker page. There is a button right at the bottom of the page, and that will transport you right to where she has that gorgeous gift available for you. Well,
Oh, come
Amber, oh
retreat
my,
with
oh,
me.
sorry. Will you say that again? Will you say that
I
again?
said, come retreat with me. We're going to have so fun.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So before we part ways today, what truth telling message would you like to leave all of us with today?
Okay, here's what I want to leave you with. I feel like there are women waiting for us to speak up, and that your truth, like whatever you've been through, there's someone who is in the midst of that right now, right? So there are women who are needing healing. There are people who, not just women, there are kids that need that. There are men that need to see strong women, that when you speak up, you open space for others to do the same. And so you give others courage. So my inspiration for you is today to, when you're speaking or when you're writing, just give yourself a check and be like, what's a more truthful response? Or what do I not want this person to know that I can reveal right now?
Oh, so good. So juicy. Thank you. Amber, thank you for saying yes to being part of the Goddess Talk sessions. I enjoyed our time together so much.
Me too.